Vikings. There's just something about them, something that is so enticing. Warriors of monstrous strength, incredible fortitude, battle-eager, raiding addicts with a legendary thirst for battle. And let's face it, we all sort of want to be Vikings. Now that dream can be reality with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So let's grab our axes, let's set sail, and let us pillage! I'm Pat Carey from the Republic of Players, and let us see if Valhalla lives up to the fables of old on Vikings. The story is a little of a mixed bag. Overall, it's pretty good, starting off strong with showing our protagonist Ivor's parents being killed and seeking revenge against their murderer. Now, I thought this would be a major part of the story, but nope, they wrap this up pretty goddamn quickly, which I wasn't expecting. But they get it out of the way so you can start your plundering. You join your clan and your brother Sigurd as you leave your home of Norway to make a new home in the rich lands of England, where the narrative really kicks into gear. Once you have settled in your new homeland, you then make your journey throughout this new area, securing alliances and strengthening your hold on this nation. While it can be incredibly engaging, it has a similar formula that seems to be a constant going throughout most of the main missions. You go to a new area, you interact with the leader, and you help them out by seemingly deciding matters of great importance. The big problem with this for me is that it gives Ivor an incredible sense of importance, and makes me question why all these characters put so much faith in him. While once or twice it would have made more sense, the fact it happens so often, it feels unnatural, and makes story beats somewhat predictable as you progress through the game. Which is a little unfortunate, as some of these characters are super interesting, but the fact that the reliance on Ivor is so great makes the relationships feel hollow at points. Taking a look at the side missions where you interact with characters of less importance, the connection forged between these characters is so much more natural, and in turn feels all the more impactful. For example, there's a mission where you go off with one of your clan members in search of a brother, and in the process the two of you get high off mushrooms unintentionally, befriend a talking white elk, and just have mad crack. And it's pure brilliant! I feel these moments where it's not all centered around political power struggles or figuring out who the traitor is, worked wonders. More simple moments where Ivor isn't simply seen as the answer to everything are wholeheartedly more effective. Even one-off characters for side missions are incredibly handled and really helps establish Ivor as a more fleshed out individual and helps create a much deeper and stronger bond with him. From simple moments like sending a stranger on his way to the halls of Valhalla to helping a child by returning her horse to her, I feel this simple aspect should have been incorporated into the main missions more often, especially with Ivor and Sigurd. There are moments where they are great together, but they are far and few between. While the narrative that they are entwined in is compelling and really good, distinctively at the end of the main story and its conclusion, but after that I was like, man, this would have been so much more impactful if these two had just spent more time together. It feels like a missed opportunity. It felt like their relationship was defined more so by what Ivor and everyone else says about them, rather than actual interaction between the two. Sigurd practically goes off on his own for most of the game, only seeing him in main missions, which just wasn't enough in my opinion. Now, there is a story that is outside the tale of Ivor and his raving clan, which takes place in modern times, and if I'm being honest, didn't care for it one bit. I tuned out and shut down for these parts. Thankfully, they only appear once or twice and for short periods of time. It does seem to have a mysterious and intriguing premise from what little I interacted with it, but it's not what I was playing the game for. And not having played the past few entries in the series, I felt a little lost, which made me more disconnected to these parts. But at least they offer up some fun puzzle platformer segments now and again. Now, I might have sounded a bit critical on the story, but I thought overall, it's fantastic. I enjoyed my time uncovering the truth in certain missions. I loved some of the interactions between characters. It's engaging to partake in, and allowing you to choose your choice of words in certain sections helps immerse you even more within its world. And while I still have the endgame content to finish, along with many side quests, I do have to say that some main missions didn't feel like they were needed at all, and just seemed to prolong Valhalla more than anything else. I feel if they hadn't been there and focus was shifted to developing some of the main cast along with creating a tighter experience, it would have held more weight and been more emotional in my opinion. Now there are many things that make me love this game, and the combat is definitely high up there. It has more than enough for you to dig your teeth into, and is beyond satisfying with its brutal savagery. I was invested in this immediately upon getting to let loose and decapitate my foes. There's just something so f***ing enjoyable about fighting as a Viking. The gameplay is wonderful. You have your light and heavy attacks, which you can mix together, as well as a charged attack. However, the cool feature is that each weapon mixes these up, and it goes even further when you start to dual wield, as depending on which weapon you have in which hand can determine how it will operate. This opens a lot of variables for you to explore until you find the one that fits you, and there is a wide option to choose from. Axes, shields, spears, great swords, and even bigger axes, to name a few, so you're bound to find a weapon that suits you. It creates a euphoric time in combat that can range from joyful mayhem and intense challenge. You can unlock abilities throughout your playthrough, which are super moves for you to deal massive damage or boost up your attack. You can equip up to 8 at a time, with 4 being more focused on melee strikes and the other 4 being dedicated to your ranged options and getting aid. These abilities are super useful, yet they require 1 bar of adrenaline in order to use, which you can charge up by attacking and beating foes or eating certain plants you will find littered in the wild. Then there are the multitude of enemies that you will be able to face, from the more common foot soldiers that help you learn the basics of the game, to the more skilled fighters that have more unique fighting styles, and then the boss battles which are delightful and can really push you. As a whole, it's magnificent. While it has begun to grow a little repetitive coming near the end, after a good 70 hours of gameplay, I'm still very much enjoying it, and will most likely continue to do so as I clean up a little on the rest of the game. Now, one thing that was a pleasant surprise and really improved the overall game is the layout of the world. I've said this before, but most open world games have this feeling of just ticking the box and completing everything that is marked on your map with no real challenge to them, as you know where they are. Valhalla does not do this. There is actual incentive to explore the lands you travel to find new quests and hidden areas or items. It has a much more organic feel to it. These events or collectibles will appear on your compass and map as you near them, yet even at that point it is still somewhat of a mystery as to what it may be, as it is nothing more than a dot. They are color coded to give you an idea to what it could possibly be, with gold being items or resources for example. You can still synchronize on top of large areas, and while this does show off a handful of quests or items in the general area near them, it does not show them all, which I appreciated. Exploration in this game was fun. It feels fresh compared to most other open world games out there, and is a massive step in the right direction. It gives off a more natural sense of wonder as you stumble across things unexpectedly. Now, before you start the game, you can change settings to make the game feel more immersive in this way, which I chose, so I can't really speak how different it would be if I didn't pick that setting. Though I guess it would be more similar to the idea of everything being marked on your map. There is a skill tree that you will be able to improve over time that will help you unlock new skills to use in combat, from being able to perform a stealth kill on tougher enemies, or picking up and flinging weapons from fallen foes at whoever is in your way. Though most of the skill tree is simply improving stats, from attack to evasion and health. It's simple to follow and serves its function well. Now there are a bunch of objectives for you to do as you play, from the main missions to the more intriguing side quests that were mentioned earlier, to raiding areas which can be quite fun the first few times, though feel a little unsatisfying. You can sail up to them and begin your raid, or you can start it with you inside the village you intend to plunder. However, it just lacks the barbaric nature I expected. You go in, set things on fire and steal lots of loot while slaying every soldier you come across. Yet civilians will mainly just loiter around at points, which makes it feel like what you're doing isn't really that big of a deal. And killing these poor defenseless buggers will get you desynchronized if you murder a few of them. I was kind of expecting slavery to be a part of the game, but it's not there. It makes you feel like a very tame Viking. I think it's a shame, as there could have been a very plausible way to incorporate them into the game by having them aid in the building of your base of operations. The supplies that you steal from raids are used to upgrade your village, so throwing in slaves to help in adding extra bonuses or making supplies less of an issue in the building could have been a feasible option, while maintaining that more barbaric image Vikings hold. Because at points they seem to be way too civil human beings. Though they really do capture a more vicious and intense atmosphere with the main campaign raids, which are just on another level. From sailing in with arrows of fire raining down from the sky as you approach a fortress to conquer, to using a battering ram to forcefully burst open gates that stand in your way. They really nail the mood with these ones that brings a bigger spectacle. Speaking on the settlement you make, the upgrading feature is just immensely gratifying to watch unfold as your little village continues to grow and expand. From the little tents that you start off with transforming into sturdy wooden houses. Watching it grow really helps establish a sense of progression, and in doing so you receive benefits. Whether it be buffs for whenever you have a feast, being able to enlist Vikings from other people's crew, which is a pretty neat, though online is required for this function. There's an area in your village that allows you to take assassination missions, though online is also required for this. The settlement system is made quite worthwhile as it helps you do so much, from customizing your boat and Ivor. While not a feature I'm too concerned over, I know loads of people will love the customization options that are available. One thing that really stood out for me and was enormous fun had to be the mini-games you can partake in. Some of them are fine little distractions you will get a kick out of, like the drinking game, which is probably the simplest of them all. Then there's flighting, which is a game of rhyming while throwing insults at whoever you face off against, and my god do I love this. It's so bizarre to see in Valhalla, and was something I never would have expected, yet I adore every inch of it. Last but not least is Orlog, which I like to consider as Yu-Gi-Oh! For Vikings. Though instead of drawing cards you roll dice to see what sort of effects you have. From 2 types of attacks, to defenses that can counter said attacks, and the skill points that you can gain that allow you to use special effects that can turn the tide of battle. You then have a dice that can steal the skill points your opponent has gathered and add them to your own. The objective is to destroy your foe's life points, which are represented as tiny little rocks. It's an addictive experience that is quite engaging. It's surprising how much this engulfed my time playing the game, but every minute of it is brilliant, and with every win you gain new special skills to use in the game, so it gives incentive to play this little minigame and gain new ways to play. These little games are a wonderful adventure to explore on your own, some taking on a life of their own, the likes of Orlog, and I could see myself turning on the game just to do some flighting or Orlog. Visually speaking, Valhalla is a splendor to behold, with a vast open world that will let you explore snowy mountaintops, a misty forest, or a simply stunning sunset as it falls behind the trees with the light sprinkling out between the branches. I was super surprised that not only did they have a seriously large map of the east of England, but they have a sizable map for Norway, Asgard, and bloody America, or Finland as it's called in this game. These places are a joy to explore, and I found myself just slowly walking through the map at points to take in the incredible sights. There was just something so beautiful in the scenery that was created by this game. From walking down a dirt road with a long stone wall beside you as you see only little bits of civilization here and there, strolling through the woods, taking in the sight atop a cliff or mountain, or sailing along calm rivers. There's something therapeutic, something so tranquil that I don't find often in open world games, and never to this extent. I wanted to slow down and take it all in. Quite a lot of my time playing has probably been doing just that. The aesthetic this game went for, period-wise, is just so appeasing, and is on another level altogether completely compared to others I have played. I didn't need a quest to do. I didn't need items to find. I could simply live in the moment, and it brought me such an immense form of calmness. It's such a stark contrast to the more violent nature the game offers up during battle. While Valhalla isn't the best game out there graphically, it more than makes up for it with its alluring visuals that are just downright magnificent. And while this is all amazing stuff, I'm just gonna come out and say it. The map is way too big. The sheer size of the east of England which you can explore is ridiculous, and got tedious pretty quickly when I started really digging into the main missions. It can take ages to get to one area, and it makes the game feel dragged out to a certain extent. And this isn't even taking into account that they have decently sized open worlds for Norway, America and Asgard. It's impressive how big this game is when you add everything together. But I have to wonder, was it all necessary? There's this feeling that games need to get bigger in size as the years go by, and I think this is a wrong mentality to have. It can feel unfocused at times when you're simply travelling through a large enough area and there is nothing there. This game could be smaller, I have no doubt they could have done so. It just feels overwhelming and unnecessary at times with just its sheer size. But let's change the topic to something that is sensational, and that is Valhalla's music. It's phenomenal, plain and simple. It carries an unmistakable presence of power that is invigorating as you make your way into a fight or raid. Yet it can bring in a more mellow and laid back ambience that still holds that sense of strength. It really amplifies the experience of the game and just sounds distinctively Viking. And that might be down to the fact that they have Einar Selvik on board to help compose the music. And for those of you who haven't heard of him, Mr. Selvik is the man behind music for the Vikings TV series, something else that has incredible music. Though I would be ashamed not to mention Jesper Kyd and Sarah Satcher, the two other composers for Valhalla. They have done an enchanting job, and all three of these people deserve a huge round of applause for the work they have done on this game. Even if you decide not to pick up Valhalla, the music is more than worth a listen. Now, it wouldn't be a big open world game without glitches, and oh boy does Valhalla have its fair share. There's the fun ones from people running in bonkers manners and the illustrious flying boat, which is my favourite. However, there are the ones that are just irritating, the likes of characters standing still and having to wait or restart the game just to proceed, to main mission objectives refusing to pop up so you can continue that storyline, and having to do awkward workarounds to get them working again. You also have dips in frame rate the odd time. But then there's the frustrating one, where the game crashes altogether, and it crashes a lot. And this was beyond demotivating, because every time it happened, I was really enjoying myself, and then BAM! Crash! It sucked away a lot of my enthusiasm when this happened, and I ended up leaving it there until the next day to play. It just depressed me with how frequent they were. Though funnily enough, the first 30 to 40 hours, it never crashed. But beyond that, it became a joke. Overall, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a brilliant game, with viciously fun combat, a world that is exciting to explore, or simply take a breather and walk through the beautiful nature it provides. The music is just utterly incredible and hits all the right notes. While the story could have used a tighter focus to help create a more emotionally impactful narrative, what we got is still really bloody good, and excels in quite a few areas. But perhaps leaving it for a while to clear up some of its bugs might be a good idea, along with getting it on the newest PlayStation and Xbox, because load times, by the Allfather, they are dreadfully long, like 1.5 minutes to over 2 minutes long, every time, and it's draining. Obviously these games were made with next gen more so in mind, and my poor PS4 tended to sound like it was on the verge of itself, letting out loud squeals and beeps every now and then, and I was very worried. Valhalla just needs a little cleaning up and it will be a truly great experience. And I can't wait for when the DLC for Ireland lands. That should be mad crack hopefully. Special thanks to Ubisoft for the review code, as this review simply wouldn't exist without it. I've been Pat Kearley from the Republic of Players. If you played Valhalla, let us know in the comments below what you thought. Please like and subscribe, and most importantly, have a good one lads.